Yeah. Am I ready?
This is where
I was born
this
ready.
is where we need more of a full shot because everybody missed us shaking our
That's
maracas.
right. By the way, good morning. I'd like to
Good boy.
show
All
you
right,
the
all
latest
right, all right.
catastrophe.
I love that shirt. Where did you get
I,
that?
I got it at the air. I almost died. I got it at the airport in Dallas because I'm in Seattle right now. Dallas, the heat index was 112.
Oh my gosh, who did I just talk to yesterday? They were in San Antonio or something. Yes, it was
It
like
is
crazy
like
hot.
the moon or Mars or one of those hot planets.
It's like the cold moon. No, wrong.
No, wrong side. It's like it's like the sun, the surface of the pits of hell. And then I come over to Seattle and it's 60 degrees. And so I tried to wear something in the middle, right?
Yeah.
And I packed and I shipped off my jacket and I forgot and I'm freezing. And my choices were like hook 'em horns, gig 'em Aggies, and I was like,
You
so
don't
I
have
just
like a North Face to wear?
yes,
What you
I
mean?
did. I do have my uniform. Where is it? My Patagonia. And I
Oh,
wore it, and someone goes, "Oh, so you've been to Seattle before? I see you have the uniform." That's what someone said to me. I'm like, "Oh, yes, I do
it
have a."
is it's like it is a little bit of a cult. I'm sorry. I'm
It
just gonna say
is,
it. It is a little bit
but
of a cult.
I'm a North Face girl. Like,
I know that.
yeah,
But and the Patagonia peeps, lovely. Some wonderful HR peeps have come through Patagonia.
yes,
Please, I'm not saying anything about it, but it is a little bit of a cult.
a little bit.
A
I'm
little bit.
trying to get North Face to sponsor me. Sponsor what? Just like my life. Like, I just want it.
Just you.
Yeah,
Just I will
just
walk
follow
around
me
and
around.
be.
I will wear North Face everywhere.
I would like Cup of Noodle to sponsor me. I'd be happy. I
Just
would
one noodle.
just I don't want the whole brand. I mean
Cup.
all of the Lipton's. Just Cup of Noodles. Have Cup of Noodles be my personal sponsor.
What was wrong with those noodles? They were like the straight,
Oh
like
yeah.
they
They're
were like
styrofoam. They have
those
no
piece
nutritional value whatsoever.
corn. Like, what was the point of those 4 pieces of corn? They don't make it a vegetable.
They just float at the top. It's
They're
honestly,
hard. You literally they have to like soak in the broth.
it is. I mean, okay, for those if I've not shared this story before, my first on the books job was as a dishwasher at Friendly's. And so the cup of noodles with what floats at the top reminds me of what the sink looked like after I was scraping dishes. You just have a few things floating.
A pea,
Yeah,
maybe a little
random,
parsley,
random.
and
Yeah,
bubbles.
and bubbles.
We
And you
should
were
take
like,
that to
oh,
the lab. I want to know what it's made out of. I don't know if it's
oh
chicken.
my gosh. I mean, yeah, y'all, by the way, dishwasher at Friendly's, that's no joke. I was there in the summer, 4th of July, devastating. I'm like scarred still by it. And I mean, covered head to toe in like hot caramel and hot fudge. They let us wear, I mean, here I am. They let us wear jams that day. Right, that was the uniform that was allowed that day. We were allowed to not wear the normal Friendly's uniform. If you have jams, you're allowed to wear jams. And so I had my jams on. So shorts
Your
is what it
Spuds
means for
McKenzie
those.
shirt.
My leg hair, it took weeks to get the caramel and hot fudge off my leg hair.
You're a
Weeks, weeks,
You're a fool. Did you see
weeks.
Jamie said it's cup noodle, not cup of
It's
noodles.
cup o noodles, first of all. If it says cup noodle, it's cup of
If
noodles.
it's cup noodles, absolutely not.
It's not cup noodles. Get out of here, you Devils fan. This is jams. Yes, Dion. I need my people. The people who know what jams are, please let yourself be heard in the chat because there's too few of us left.
That's true. It's actually, hey, it's cup noodles.
It's not cup
Jamie
noodles.
is our producer for a reason.
Darn it, Jamie.
It is cup noodles. And
Who
Jamie,
makes
once
cup of
again,
noodles? Isn't that
why
cup of
do we
noodles?
always do that to Jamie? Why
I
do
know.
we always say, Jamie,
We
shut up? You
doubt
don't know what you're
him.
talking about.
I know,
Cup
Jamie.
noodles.
Darn it.
Thank you,
Actually,
Jamie.
what we do, if Robin, if you are here, what we usually do at work is just raise our fist. Jamie, kind of Newman. And so that's usually
Yes,
how we
you
say.
did.
If you said it too quickly when you first got on. You are in Seattle,
I am in Seattle.
and
We
you
had an
are,
executive meeting
yeah,
this week,
yeah, for
and
work, for your day job.
for my day job, for
Yeah.
my night job is watching TV and watching the Hallmark Channel and eating cup noodles.
And
Um, but
and
it's been
your
good.
executive producer doing random dances through the dining room into the kitchen.
Listen, my executive producer, sweet baby TJ goes back to college this week, and my executive producer says he's taking me on a date on Saturday.
Wow. Together, or is he taking you to meet somebody
I
else?
don't
Or
know. He could be passing me off in another
that's what
city.
you should say when you get wherever. You're like, "Thank you so much for driving. Who am I meeting
Yeah,
today?"
exactly.
Oh, it's you. Oh,
Should I moisturize? Who is this? That's what I always say. I'm not getting divorced. I have a toe. I have a bad toe.
I want to tell you. So I know that toe. You're so funny. Have you seen? You just reminded me with this moisturize. I just was made aware of a product, a deodorant that is a lotion that you're supposed to put in. Have you seen this?
Yes.
Does it work?
Folks be stinking. I don't even know why they need to put all this deodorant everywhere. What are you doing?
Do you know what I'm talking about though? Like
Yes.
it's this like tube of looks like lotion.
Yes. No.
And
It's like body deodorant.
yes, body deodorant. That's exactly what it's called. Yep. I don't know.
People be stinking.
I'm
I'm
very
confused.
hesitant.
I
The
don't know.
person on the infomercial, she was like, you can put it on for your underboob sweat. And I was like,
Right.
what? What is this? What is happening?
You get to a certain age, it's pretty
I was
necessary.
like, that, and she was
However,
like rubbing it on the bottom of her feet. She's
stop
like,
it.
for your foot sweat. And I was like, I don't have foot
I don't have
sweat.
foot
And
sweat.
now I feel indicted. Like,
Do I need
maybe
to
I'm
work
not
out harder?
aware.
I
Maybe I'm
don't.
not aware. I
I
wear
will tell you.
socks when I work out. I don't know
True
what that
story.
means.
Last week, because it's been so hot, I'm doing my long miles. Y'all know I'm doing this
Yes.
marathon,
Please
half
follow
marathon.
Jackie. Obviously, please follow both of us, but please follow Jackie if you want to see this journey. It's awesome.
Listen, it's yesterday, so I'm doing this half marathon, and maybe I do need the body sweat because it's a 10 miles. I've been doing 10 miles. Literally, almost had a heat stroke last week.
I bet.
This time, I've never had this happen to me where I was sweating so much I could not stop, and after I got home, I was sweating for another hour
Yeah. 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 Oh,
in the house with air
I've been
conditioning,
there.
and I
Yeah.
had a blanket, and it's just pouring, and my
Yeah.
shins are sweating. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
there's nothing in my shin, sweating.
This is where Florida, I will say, wins because I just hop right in the pool because I cannot stop sweating after I get back from
Yeah,
a long run.
yeah,
I just will, same thing. I'll
yeah.
sweat for like an hour.
Listen,
Um,
yesterday, because Seattle has all those hills, and
yes.
so I decided to go on the treadmill, and I know the people in there were like, "She has never been on a treadmill in her life." Like, I'm trying to go.
Have
I'm
you
on, like,
seen?
6 miles an hour running on the treadmill, and then I'm kinda like my
I
foot kinda
I am the worst. By the way, you're reminding me. There are some great videos of people like failing on ellipticals and treadmills. Like it's the funniest
so
stuff.
I'm not the only
Wow.
one. I was like, "Why?" This lady next to me fully looks like, Chariots of what? Fire.
Fire. Yeah.
Chariots of Fire. She's just breathing. Oh, I'm like, "Same." And I'm like, I click the red thing on the thing, so, like, if you fall
Hey,
off, so to stop.
wait,
Yeah,
stop,
because I'm
stop.
like, "Hey, I just need to be safe because this is not looking very good."
There's that one video of a woman on the elliptical at the gym, and she's just bouncing everywhere with it. And I was like, "You're wasting more calories going
That's
up
right.
and down than actually trying to do the
Yeah.
elliptical itself."
I bet you she needs body deodorant.
I'm sure she needs body deodorant. And I can't watch I have an update for it. I can't watch all of my reels like I normally do because I am still blocked on Instagram. They are still determining whether I am a threat to society or I don't know what they're doing.
Wow.
Yeah. So for those, and I've been getting some messages. What's wrong with, my Instagram
And they
is
keep trying to tag
me,
you.
John Baldino, and they keep trying to tag me and it just says Instagram user because they haven't kicked me off. They're evaluating my account. So Listen, my kids ain't ugly. That's the primary thing I post. So I don't want to hear about your mess.
I
But yeah,
really did think like yesterday because I put a post and it's a quote of you. I tried to tag you for but first coffee, and I was like, where
yeah.
is he? I really thought you just decided not to
No,
be tagged. I
no,
thought,
no. And you know, and Josh Rock is here. Good morning, Josh. What's up, buddy?
hi,
Josh went
please
through a
call me.
similar trauma on the Twitters back in the day because someone stole his account. Do you remember that? Someone stole
Yes,
his Twitter account, and they wouldn't believe him that it was him. I mean, my
that's
man
you
had
know.
his license. Like, who's carrying around Josh's license?
Dion will know. So I do the web for Young Men's Service League. That's how me and Dion met because our boys were in Young Men's Service League. Facebook hasn't let me post for a year, and they'll end up letting me post. This is what's so weird. On like holidays, they'll let me post, and then
That's
I try to
bizarre.
post all this stuff, and then it'll block off. I have no idea.
I don't understand it. And Facebook and Instagram, by the way, I thought were the same sort of like meta company.
Yes.
Facebook has no issues with me, but Instagram is like, boy, you're shut down.
And there's
Okay.
no customer service. There's not
None,
like a,
none,
like they're like
none.
send an email. You have no idea who you're talking to, where it is, but they don't get paid enough. Let me tell you that.
And I don't want to restart. I have no energy to restart. I mean, it's too many
No.
years. Like all these followers, like thank God for, but like I don't have the energy. I'm too old, too much of a curmudgeon. Like it's not going to happen now. It's over.
Speaking of curmudgeon, mental health.
It's bad. Jamie.
Down with mental health. What?
Jamie.
Damn you kids.
It's been, and first of all, I should mention it is RecruitCon this week. Thank you, Hire Easy, for the swag. I
I
won.
again did not receive
Let me
anything
tell
for
you
Hire
something. You're going to
Easy.
really hate me now
So
before
I
we get
had to
into my talk.
purchase again the
First of all,
mermaid.
you're in Seattle. You have to, it's like a requirement by law that you have to buy Starbucks there.
But people don't realize, like, I'm literally, as you know, a Starbucks addict.
Yeah.
Every time I go to a place, they're like, you're in Seattle now, like, have real coffee. And I'm like, do not mess with me in Starbucks. There were 25 within walking distance. And I
I'm
was so happy.
no kidding. But yesterday for day 2 of RecruitCon, they in the middle of the day they had and I have it on while I'm doing other work and stuff because it's only in the afternoon. Our buddy Steve Levy goes today. Whoop, whoop. Can't wait to hear him because we love him. But Brian Fink, if you're here, you killed it the day before. Like such a great session. Anyway, they did a Kahoot game in the middle of it, and I
I
was
love
like,
to.
okay, 100 and some people participated, right? I'm doing the questions. I'm like 58th. I jumped to 43rd, fell back to like 60th. I was like, Lord, I'm never, why am I doing this game? Guess who wins the game when all of it's said and done?
Who?
Me.
You won.
I won the whole thing. I mean, I was like, holy cow, unbelievable that I came all the way back. And so this whole big swag pack is coming, which is, cool. And I won because I knew that the most sought after jobs for the next 10 years will be nurse practitioners and wind turbine technicians.
Really?
Yep. That's what did it. That put me way, way ahead.
I didn't know that.
Wind turbine. Serious, right?
I didn't know that was, I knew nurses. Why can't we get nurses?
I mean, we need more people to go through schooling to be a nurse practitioner, honestly. Like
You don't have to go to college, college per
well,
se. You could go to nursing school. What
yeah.
kind of nurses do we need? Do we know?
Well, it's specific nurse practitioner, and really the reason is because we don't have enough doctors.
And
so
the
nurse
other reason
practitioners can do a lot of stuff.
we don't have nurses because we don't take care of people's mental health at work. That is stressful.
Exactly.
And so, people don't.
Let me ask you a question from a recruiting perspective.
Yeah.
Have you been specifically asked, what does the organization provide in terms of support for mental and emotional health? Has that been a question you've been asked?
I have been asked about that.
Okay.
And I mean, first of all, because I think I'm a mom, I get mad anytime people are like, what are you going to do for me? And I'm always thinking, what do you mean, what am I going to do for you?
Yeah.
What are you going to do for me? Like, where are we at? We're in the process. But I understand um, wanting to know, like, you can have your regular normal lifestyle. Like, I'm taking a sacrifice. I'm going to spend the most time. These are the things that I know and resources that I need. And we try to normalize. Everybody needs mental health support.
Everybody.
But I think what gets nervous is when you give somebody a one pager or you point them to one website and then all of a sudden you can give a diagnosis. Like, people are not careful enough with their language and the things that they assume. And we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, like the
Yep.
jokes of trying to be, oh, you must be ADHD. Like, as somebody who is ADHD, I don't find that funny.
Right.
And it's real. Like, don't make fun, or, oh, I think they have OCD, or they're so anal, or you're so this. That can be received as you attempting to make a diagnosis,
Yep.
and you can be
Well,
held liable.
we have created little monsters with places like WebMD. I mean, how many times do people go to WebMD and self-diagnose? They wind up not seeking out direct medical attention or support because they're like, I'll just go on WebMD, punch my symptoms in. And you punch your symptoms in and you're like, oh my gosh, I have malaria.
Yeah.
And
You literally have scurvy or nothing. So you're either going to die any second or you're fine. Yeah.
you have scurvy.
I think you have a
Oh my
vitamin
gosh.
deficiency.
Like,
Right?
yeah, but and again, we're being a little tongue in cheek, but it is true. There are a lot of people who go on WebMD and self-diagnose, and now we're seeing it happen for sure over the last 5 years when it comes to mental and emotional health type research. It's not just about I have a rash and a fever. What could I have? It's now I'm sad. And so what is WebMD going to give you? Could be depression.
Right.
It could be schizophrenia.
That's
It
right.
could, like,
That's right.
it tells you these things, and
And
it's
it could be a
devastating.
moment. Like,
Yes.
give people, just because you can go and get a diagnosis does not mean that you're going to have a cure automatically. Like,
Right.
the things that we need to do is you do need to keep pointing people to the various resources and hope that they're using the things that you have in place, and make sure that you don't have any blockers. I don't think people recognize, like, in order to get a better rate, that they cut things off within the
Yes.
benefits.
Yeah. Yeah.
It'll be treatment for something that you don't even realize until somebody needs it.
Well,
Like, make
and
sure.
we have, you and I have talked about the company sizes in the United States a while back. It's been a little while, but we're in the upper 90th percentile
Yeah,
with companies that don't fit the enterprise level
that's
of
right.
of categorization. So you have a ton of SMBs, small
Oh,
businesses, who do not have access to an EAP through
yeah.
their benefits plan. It does not come as part of it. And I'm not saying that EAPs are the be all and end all. I know some people feel
No,
some way about it,
but
but it's a start.
it's a start, because you want people to be able to get access, and you want them
Yes.
to have various resources so they're not forced. I was shocked on my benefits at my organization. There's a lot of different places, but then they added, like, BetterHelp
Yeah.
as a resource. All of these
Yep.
new telehealth, which is important because you don't have access to care everywhere, or people that look like you or are from the same area, or you can get really specific if you're looking for a particular, health concern. But I do feel like one of the things we don't do as organizations is let people have access to know if things are a problem. Like, if you really need help, what to do if you think you need help. And so
Yep.
it manifests, mental health will manifest at work in different ways that will cause larger problems for the overall organization.
And that's a great point. So, which begs the question that we were asking today, which is my company then responsible to address my mental and emotional health?
But what are you going to do? I mean, I mean, are they responsible for your teeth?
Right.
I'm not trying to be funny.
No, but right. We have dental insurance, and it's almost like a given for most organizations where it's like, yeah, we offer dental insurance.
Right.
We don't think twice about it. Why wouldn't we think the same way about mental and emotional
But,
health?
but responsible is where,
Yeah. Yeah.
because I don't think Shit, half the people can't be responsible to turn their damn Zoom camera on.
And it is not like we're responsible in the sense like Jackie is having a difficult emotional time in life and then comes to work. And it's not that we're saying that the company is responsible because Jackie's having a difficult emotional time, but Jackie's showing up at work 40 hours a week, going through some stuff.
Right.
Don't you think that's going to be apparent at work? Don't
I
you
would
think Jackie's
hope.
performance is going to struggle because of what she's going through? I would
I mean,
think that you'd want to get your biggest bang out of your, for your buck out of Jackie.
I get worried about the obligation. I get worried about harassment and bullying when you're working on deadlines and things for someone who is going through. Ooh, Kyra has a lot to say.
And she's right. I know we can't fit it all if we were to share it on the screen,
We
but
tried though.
read Kyra's comment because lots of truth. Good morning, Kai. Um, there are options,
Yes, there
right?
is.
Even if you can't access an EAP because of your size, there are options, and we're going to talk about a couple of them. But I love that Kai puts
Yes.
them.
And that's the thing that I will never forget. This was like not that long ago when I was first going on a weight loss journey and was starting to go to it. And I went and they were like, your company has opted out of all things with weight management. And I was like, really? And they said, I
Why?
was like, what am
Right.
I supposed to do? And they were like, go back and ask them to put that back on. And they
Yep.
were like, isn't anybody else like overweight? Like I looked around and I was like, no, like I'm the only one actually.
First of all, really,
Yeah. And it was true, really. I'll show you a picture sometime. And it's kind of freaky. I didn't know I was young, like I didn't notice that
I
that was
was
a thing.
young. I needed the money.
I was
The,
young. I like donuts. Stop. Um,
but
but
your the advice you were given was about advocacy. Go
right,
back to your HR team, your benefits team, depending upon your organization, and go into that office and say, or schedule a time to chat with them and say, where are our weight loss benefits? Where are our, in this instance, our emotional and mental health support benefits? Oh, well, you get 2 visits for free with a psychologist.
right.
And I just want to say I appreciate those 2 visits. Please, I'm not minimizing them. But for most
Thank you.
people, you'll need more than 2. And
Right.
so you are putting the burden then to say it's like um, doing it's like going to the gym twice for free, and you're like, oh, I like this, I'm feeling better after I'm being here. Well, they know you're going to sign up then because the 2 gets you sort of whet your appetite. So if you do that with a psychiatrist or psychologist, counselor, therapist, you're probably going to sign up, so you're going to spend the money. Why
Right.
not figure out ways to have those 2 visits for free sort of be spread out, maybe have a reduction in deductible, that's used for 6 visits, and spread
Right.
something out rather than just. I feel like it's a game, right? You go to the 2 visits and the doctor knows that you only get 2 visits, and so maybe you get half treatment because they're waiting for that third visit when they can charge you to kick in. I
Yeah.
mean, that sounds terrible, but it's hard to not know that that's something that's happening. They have to make money too.
I just feel like it's worth making the investment in your people just as much as you'd want to get them. We want you to be able to be your best self. We want you to feel like, oh, look at Kyra. Kyra is going off.
But first of all, Kai can't always make the time because she normally has a leadership or staff meeting at this time, and
Right.
so she canceled it today and told everyone she has mono. But but I'm glad you're here now, though. I just made all that up about the mono, but otherwise,
I do think that there are things. I think there's things available for mono
for my right for
and
the kissing
for
disease,
the kissing
Kyra,
disease.
Kyra,
But
don't
I
be
feel
sorry.
like, don't be sorry. I think that it's really helpful. I don't think that people understand like the part of the reason it's so important to do it is because it is going to seep over and it affects the overall organization. And you need people to be
Yes.
able to have those resources, and you don't want to be the cause
Yeah.
of somebody getting worse and not being supportive. Like you want to, that's what you're trying to do, is give people what they need. But I think employees are demanding it.
And it's uncomfortable, I think, for some HR practitioners, some leadership at organizations where they're like, well, we just don't hire that person. Who do they think they are asking about mental health support? They don't even have the job. Why would they bring this up during their interview process? Because they
Listen,
care about it.
it says here 62% of missed work days are attributed to burnout, depression, or anxiety.
I just read this entire article about. I'm gonna if I have the wrong name, somebody please in the chat correct me. I think it's Brian Chesky, who was one of the founders of Airbnb. I don't know if you read this article, and he talks about um, he basically is coming clean to say I was at the top of my game. We had built this amazing company. We went to IPO. We were evaluated at like $1 billion. Like it was crazy and all this success. And he said, I woke up the next morning and I was so lonely. I was so lonely.
Wow.
And he said, I didn't even know how to like sort of categorize it. But what I now understand it was severe loneliness. And no one really prepared me that in the midst of having such a public success,
Yes.
that you can feel this way. And he's like, and I mean, this article is really fascinating. If you all go online and read it, just how it tore him up inside, that how I can't make sense of having this much success and feeling badly. That shouldn't be happening.
And you know what? It happens. I mean, like that's what I attribute. Like when our kids go off to college, like we should be so excited that they're
Yeah.
going, and you're just devastated, like hurt. Or when you're working towards something and then it's over. When you have all of this buildup and then it's over. And I think there are some. I think about like doing this half marathon. You see people all the time walking away from marathons. They have the medal. They're standing there by themselves, and it's over.
Yeah.
And there are a
Oh,
lot of things like that at work, where it's over. We thank you. We did the launch. Now what? Right? And so
the
I
good
can
news for
understand
me
that.
with the marathon is I wouldn't be alone at the end of my race. I would be with paramedics.
I was
So
gonna
I
say
know
yes. I will be with the crew at Chipotle because
oh no,
for some
I
reason.
they'd have me on a gurney. That's what would happen at the end of a marathon. There's no way. But HR leaders are super uncomfortable with some of these conversations with people
Yes.
and feel some sort of way. And I would say, I don't know what your experience has been, but when I think about my restaurant, hospitality, hotel type experiences,
Yes.
um, we didn't have a lot of love for individuals at the line level, the hourly workers who
No.
might come in and feel a bit blue,
Yes.
be emotionally under the weather, and we're like, that stinks. Clock in. I need you to chop those onions and let's get going. We just didn't have a lot of love, and honestly, HR would, if it became an HR thing, it was like, okay, well, are you feeling sick? Maybe you should go to the doctor. You could see if we can get you an ADA accommodation. And it's like, sometimes can you just like talk to someone? How about
I'm
that?
going to put this in. I'm going to send this to you, Jamie. Maybe you can put it in if you're in here somewhere. From the CDC,
Jamie's everywhere.
because they have the CDC has a work programs. Like if you need these various tools of things that you can do to put together
Yes.
for your organization. And that's the other part. Like you don't have to wait for your organization to get things together. There's other
No.
resources. And so while you're figuring it out, you can point people to various resources that are available for everyone. I think there are a lot of different health resources that are available. And so pointing people in that direction, sometimes it's just good to get started. Just
And I, from this is, I don't mean this to sound self-serving, but I'm sharing it because I can speak firsthand. There are actually very accessible resources that don't cost anything or very little, depending upon what the company strategy is. We've talked not on But First Coffee about my involvement with Mavi, and Mavi is all about wellness. And so you can put some monies aside or even just tell people how to download the app so they can access resources for mental health, emotional health. There are people um, as part of a benefits package, 25 bucks, 50 bucks a month is put into this account in Mavi for them. And your staff can go in and find support structures that are personalized for what they're going through. And so there are things like therapy notes that people can buy with that money that, and if you're not familiar with therapy notes, if anybody's listening that's not familiar, therapy notes covers a variety of different um, issues, even diagnosis in terms of support structures, whether it's depression or anxiety. There are breath whistles that are available there. There are weighted blankets, believe it or not,
But
right?
we've got
That
to train our
right,
managers, because
right.
you have to train managers on how to look at people and what their responsibility, because the worst part is like like everyone thinks they know HR. So you tell the organization, "Hey, we need to put a better like focus on mental health." And then they go, "Anybody suffering from mental health?" You're like,
Yeah,
"That's
right.
not what I said."
That's not
Like,
what.
the managers don't get it. "You seem a little crazy. Are you okay?" Like,
Well,
you have to train them what
we
to
have
look
to
for,
train, and
how to
Kyra
coach
said that
them.
earlier too. We have to train managers, and even when there's tools like an EAP or Mavi or something like that, and it's like if you're a manager and all you do is like, hey, download that app and see if there's something on there that'll help you.
Right,
Woo,
right.
woo.
Google it. Don't you have Google?
It's like I think you just have to, and then we start to give like um, diagnosis and cure. I
That's
think what you have to do is stop going to Wawa every day and getting a hoagie. Why don't you start eating, rice cakes?
Have you
You're like,
tried sleeping? Like, it's an illness when people are having an illness, and I think it's we. But then you get mad because someone has to take off work, right? You want to be able to control them and give people access to things before it becomes a bigger issue.
you're totally right. And I think that's why we're, again, with the topic today, that's where some of, I think, the responsibility comes from for the organization because that person is showing up. I'm not saying that they're not trying to mask what they're going through. I mean, there are things that we can't always know. I appreciate that. But by and large, they're spending a ton of time with us at work. 40 hours a week, 50 hours a week is a lot of time that they're spending
Right,
with us. And
right.
so to not have options or opportunity or compassion, I think it's a miss.
And
It's a
don't
huge.
I think to Kyra's point when it says when you're in the midst of a mental health crisis, you can't really. That's like when it's really really bad, right? That's
Right.
not the time for you to start trying to figure something out. And that's why
Yes.
you want to remind people of the benefits before they come, because that is part of it, of feeling lonely or not knowing what to do.
How about this? Again, we're trying to give some ideas here this morning as well. How about you have um, contract with a therapist for a lunch and learn
Yeah.
for like for them not to give clinical diagnosis to people. That's not what I mean. But for them to take a half an hour on a Zoom meeting or something where they're like, "Hey, today we're going to talk about depression and or anxiety, and here's some of the things that it looks like. Here's how it can manifest." Because I will tell you, there are times I think people are very surprised when um, a, a clinical provider talks about depression and they talk about the way in which symptoms can show up. And some of
Mhm.
those symptoms don't seem like depression on the surface, right?
Right.
And you hear this professional share it, and someone sitting there who hasn't said two words about feeling some sort of way all of a sudden has more information. And it's not to exactly your point, it's not at the point of there's an issue manifesting itself, but I'm starting to feel like I'm getting there. So nobody knows yet. And so this information helps me to sort of say, "Ooh, I might want to talk to somebody sooner. I may want to access the resources we have sooner." That could just come by information. Like try to
You're
contract with
right. I just like we become very transactional. Amy had posted a while ago about
someone.
products, about people becoming too
Yeah, I saw that.
often
Thank you, Amy.
being treated like a product. And I think sometimes we just treat people in a transactional way at work where it's like go over there and deal with that and come back when you're better. And when you don't aren't able to talk about it and you don't feel like people have your best interest in mind, you're hiding these things, trying to hide them. But it still manifests at work,
Absolutely.
right?
And it's not like um, and the fool's hardy game is, don't we think we're like really good at hiding it? Like we believe that we're like nobody knows. It's often
That's
not
right.
true.
Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I think, as me, I like stop talking if I'm really upset and it just I don't want to come out. I want to go into my shell.
Yeah.
Um and like and I think we're so quick to try to make like our own diagnosis, but I like what Dion's saying. It's like there's help in the term mental health. And I think not only do we need to make considerations, but also recognize people go to school to learn this. It's not Google. It's not you. And I do think we do a like again, we do a bad job of telling managers what their responsibilities are or an
Yes.
understanding of what we and why we're offering these things. We do have to be clear. Some things are more transactional, you
Well,
know?
and some things are seen as trendy. And the thing with mental health is, and I don't know how everybody else feels if this has become an issue in your organization, we really, I would say to our chagrin in HR, but we really haven't
Chagrin.
made this a big topic up until the last 4 or 5 years within our workplaces. So it'll feel trendy to some of your senior leadership, to some of your managers who are like, oh, here we go now. Now we're on the mental health bandwagon, right? But mental health has been an issue forever.
Ever.
It's not new.
Forever. I will tell you, like John and I we both had major losses in around the same time.
Hmm.
And we were both dealing you were dealing with your dad for a while and we would be I mean like literally we would look at each other. We would sign on to do but first coffee and it'd be like,
Yeah,
what's going on?
right.
Like tell me in the next 30 seconds.
Yeah,
Be like you knew something was happening. And we were both blessed you like we have supportive teams to be able to get through those things, but not having that. Like when my mom passed away that March, I don't remember anything until like August.
yeah.
I don't remember anything.
And because it was so heavy, right? And
So
so,
heavy.
and
All I
and
could
I,
do was like try to eat, and I wasn't even doing that very well.
you
Like
weren't.
it was like trying. You're trying your best, like you're saying. You're trying to mask it and cover it, but you also have to have people that say, "This is not. I know this is a temporary situation." And encouraging people, I like what Kyra said earlier, encouraging people, not just pointing to a number, but taking people through the process as much as you
Yeah,
can, not offering diagnosis. It takes practice of being able to share things without trying to internalize and pulling all those things back. Unfortunately, sometimes we think we're offering support by saying, well, tell me what's going on. Dude, it's more than you. Like it's out of your
yeah,
pay grade
yeah,
to start
yeah.
hearing about somebody that and it's the worst because then you're like, oh, I can't do anything about that after they
Well,
tell
and I
you,
think we have to help people tell their story without making it prescriptive. And
yes,
so, right, there's value in the
that's a
two. I
better
mean,
way of putting that.
we've both lost a parent,
Yeah.
right, in a short period of time. And so, but what met me with what I was going through might be different than what would work for
That's right.
Jackie and the way she was going through it, right? So I can share my story and say, this is how I'm feeling, this is what's going on. And if Jackie says, well, what you need to do is because this worked for me, that's when it becomes prescriptive.
Right.
Would I say that I would think Jackie's telling me these things because she loves me? Yes. But that doesn't mean that the advice, right, is something that I ought to follow. But rather, if it's presented where Jackie's like, I'm here for you. I don't know, exactly what to say. I might encourage you to talk to someone on a more professional level if you need that kind of support.
Yeah.
If she were to say, I tried this, I tried that, I did this, where it's like, here's the whole bunch of things that I tried. That's not prescriptive because it's just like, this didn't work for me, but it might work for me.
It might. I had a boss once that literally every time you'd say, "Well, I'm feeling a little," he'd go, "Nope. Do you need to leave?" He'd be like, "Mm-mm." As soon as you would say
You
anything,
said the F word.
yeah, he would be like, "Yeah." I'd be like, "My back." Oh, mm-mm. He would
Yeah.
be like, I'm not. Look
And
at what.
that's,
What?
thanks, Steve. That's right. Listen, assess, and discuss
That's right.
rather than judge and solve. We and
That's right.
HR, come on, HR. You know that sometimes we we love to judge and solve. We just love it.
We
You
love
know,
it.
because some of us in HR are like frustrated class presidents from high school. And so now we're like, I'll fix it all, right?
I think
Like,
it still says it in my Instagram. I think it said I put amateur therapist for a while because I was like, I think let me handle it. I think
you
all of
know,
us are like
that's a
amateurs.
great word.
Feel
I
like we're
say
amateurs.
all the time to people because I have the blessing, and that's what it is, to engage with some people at an executive coaching level. And I often say, especially as we're getting started, there's going to be moments where what we talk about feels therapeutic,
Yeah,
and it may be, but please don't get it wrong. I'm not a therapist.
that's right.
And I want to be super clear about that. I don't want you to neglect things where a therapist would be helpful because you're going to say to yourself, well, I have Baldino and I think he's helping me therapeutically.
My Bravely
I'm
coach
not.
is not my therapist.
Yeah. Yes.
I mean, and that's the other part. If you do have an executive coach, you still need to have a therapist to talk about some things. I feel like it's just like software. Like, yeah, I work in the software industry. We built it for a particular purpose. It might be beneficial in other ways. That wasn't on purpose. It was a fluke, and I can't guarantee that it's going to stick because that's not what it was made for, right?
Right. Right.
So, you want to make sure that you're getting the accurate help, but that you keep looking for it until you feel some kind of way. Don't expect if what your organization is providing isn't working, keep going.
Yeah.
Find
Yes.
other resources,
Fine. And change therapists. Your
but do it
insurance will
before you
allow
need
for
it.
it. Yes. Yes. Boy, I just want to say we got Kyra all kinds of whipped up
Kyra
today,
is
y'all.
always a Sunday.
Here now she's like bringing it. We aren't therapists or CPAs. Okay, we haven't talked anything about
Financial
taxation,
planners, that's a
but
whole
there
nother
you go.
day.
Okay, everything's coming out today,
I
Kai.
literally forgot the other day. This is how responsible I am. When I was like, we're going to be homeless because I'm a little dramatic. And
Wait
I
a
was
minute.
like,
Let me imagine that for a second. You're dramatic. Okay, hold on. Okay, I think I got it.
yes. And I was like, it's over. We're going to be homeless. We're going to be on the street. And then Todd's like, do you still have a 401k? I was like, oh, okay. So we're not going to be homeless immediately, but we will be if we don't pay
We,
attention.
first of all, you got it bad. The
Listen,
drama. You got
well,
it bad.
well, somebody,
Bad.
but it's true.
Bad.
We,
Where is Greg today? Greg's not joining us today. I
I
mean,
know. Where
I
is
need
he?
my brother because he would be like 100% John.
He
The,
yeah, he would. He absolutely would.
I think one of the hard things is, and this is on that vulnerability spectrum, and I've talked about this before. Um,
Yes.
when having been a victim of childhood sexual abuse, there are times, and this is something in therapy that was really helpful for me as well. There are times where you're like, oh, but because I've been through that, something so severe that if I come across somebody else who is in some level of that going on or had gone on for them, I'm like, oh, let me tell you, right? You can want to help because you're like, I feel so much better after what
Right.
I've gone through from a
Right.
health standpoint that I want to tell you. I don't believe that anybody by and large has like awful motives when they want to do something like that. Every people want to help, and I get it. It's really just a matter of recognizing, though, that the best way that I can help someone is to say, this was the therapist I spoke to. If you're
Right.
starting to look at options for therapy, I can't say that he or she is going to be, for instance, the right one for you to talk to, but this particular person worked well for me. Won't hurt my feelings. I won't know anything about it. So I'm just wanting to give you a name. That may be all that I should do, right? And other than encouraging them at some point, just
Well,
find a therapist
and
that
be
works.
careful that you also have to be, if your therapist follows a certain ideology that someone else
Yes,
doesn't ascribe to, like
correct.
try to
Yeah,
say those things in advance. I think because you don't want that to like, I think people come off like that. Like if you, especially if you're looking for a marriage counselor or I have a friend who's a divorce attorney, and she always would recommend these particular therapists, and we were just talking about it, and she recommended a Christian therapist,
yeah,
and it was like, do you? How do you explain that to the people? And not everybody's looking for a Christian therapist. Like that's a
right.
different type of deal, and she didn't really
That's
think
right.
about it um, because that's not her area of expertise. She's a divorce
Yes,
attorney, but I mean,
yes.
it's important when you do make those recommendations. Kyra, you're never done.
Kyra, do not be done.
You're not done.
And don't be done. We love
No,
you,
don't
and I
be
love
done.
all these comments.
That's right. Because and it helps people to see, and they know that they're not alone when you do those things. So
I'm going to
don't.
tell you right now, there are people, not just Kyra, but I know Steve's commenting, and Dion's been commenting, and Amy, and Josh, and some other folks. Um, there are people watching right now, listening, who are struggling and with mental and or emotional health issues. It and it's not likely that everyone's going to flock to the comments here and say, "I'm so
Right,
glad you're talking about this because I'm struggling right now." But
right,
I do want to make sure that those of you who are listening who are struggling right now, Jackie and I are champions for your health.
yeah,
We have no idea what the right um, treatment plan would be for you. That's not what we're saying when we say champions.
right.
But what we are saying is that we are supportive. We believe that you have a right to access the help
That's
that
right.
you need. And so make sure that you're connecting with whomever you need to. At work, if that's the easiest place to start because of things like health benefits, then start there,
Yeah,
right? Then start somewhere. That's an easy place to start. That's where the responsibility, I think, makes the
that's right.
most sense.
I do too. And do you want to hear something funny?
Yes.
I have to tell y'all a secret. So I'm in Seattle again. I usually hide my computer, and I'm trying to look like I'm really focused, like I'm not on my computer. I'm focused. I pull out my computer yesterday. And they were like, "Your buttons are all rubbed off." And I was like, "Oh, I know. I know." They're like, Have you had your computer for so long that you typed the buttons off?" And I was like, "Yeah."
Have
And they
you
were like,
really?
"You need a new computer." I've had this computer. It's so old, and I'm afraid. I'm afraid of trading it. They're going to trade in my computer. They're like, "Jackie needs a new
I do
computer
this.
right now." Is what they
I have
said.
like issues with my shift key. Look at like I
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
look at my shift key. And I use an external, keyboard. My space bar makes sense to me that where my thumb hits it, that it's that way. But I mean, I'm severe
Listen,
with the shift key. Look at
right?
that. I'm like
It's
really angry.
ASDCST gone. Those are gone. I don't know
I
what I've
don't
been.
know how acidic are your fingers that
No,
it's
they're
taking
old.
letters off.
They're old.
They're
They're
all
just.
here.
It's just old. And I got. I feel like I had but it was just so funny, like
How
because
acidic
yes,
are your fingers? I
because
say.
it's like it was a really it's a really stressful time. They were like, "Damn, like you just type it."
The
And I'm
angry
like,
two fingered typer.
"That's right." I'm like,
Yeah, yeah.
like, and but what it made me think about was I think it's secretly part of the reason why I like working independently because I do type pretty loud. Um, and it's like I can't help it but doing all those things together. And it made me think of just that human connection and relationship of just somebody else saying, like, I always will overthink things and be like, I don't know, should I get it? Like, I, you know, I think one of the best things that my boss ever said, and I got to see Kieran. Kieran, as moved and started writing some things and doing some other things. It is no longer CEO of Textio, but I was able to see her. One of the things that was so great in working with her is that I would be like, I don't know if I should go. It was like, you going on vacation is not going to cause the downfall of the company.
It shouldn't.
And if it does, the problem wasn't you, it was
Correct.
us. So you
Correct.
just keep doing what you're doing. And I think I am a independent worker. I prefer working independently. I'm not the let's go grab a drink. Like I feel like I have to be working. It's just where I feel happiest. But recognizing that in other people and being able to offer support when we have it, like those connections, we're missing those. And so that's why we have to have more of the reminders. I think organizations have an obligation to let people know within their purview of what's going on. Hey, these are some resources that are available, or continue to talk about it to normalize it so that people don't feel weird, or because now I'm weird because I don't
Yeah.
have an A on my computer. Like I was more worried about that than just getting another
Don't worry about your
computer.
A.
Yeah, it's going to be, I know where the A is. But really, like,
But that's where you need somebody who will advocate for you too, though,
that's
right?
right.
Based on that
That's what I
relationship.
mean. Like, and I'm gonna have another computer by next week. Woohoo! I can't wait to see what an A looks like. Maybe it's changed.
Right. And
But
but with
connect.
those acidic fingers, it'll be gone in a week,
Listen,
though.
it's because I lick them every time. Between, I lick between each word, each paragraph.
You're like the lizard person from Land of the Lost. Remember Land of
That's
the
right.
Lost?
Oh my god, gross.
Y'all, if you have not seen it, we used to think it was so cool. You watch it now and you're like, this is like the worst special effects I've ever seen in my life.
Horrible. The
Horrible.
lasers.
Oh my gosh, horrible, horrible. But you do bring up a really valid point, and the relationship piece is really difficult. So there are people um, who can still be lonely in the midst of a bunch of people, right?
That's right.
And so at some point, one of the areas where something therapeutic may need to be examined really comes down to relationships. So, for instance, I have an executive producer, and she, through all these years, and she's been my executive producer for 26 years now. And so um Jeremy.
Jeremy, I haven't talked to you in like months.
I, he's
I'm going to
busy.
talk to you next week.
Jeremy he's on grandpa duty, and he ain't
Jeremy is
none
I
of it.
know, but
None
Jeremy's
of
like a
it.
brother, and I feel like I've been a bad, self
No, Jeremy's
proclaimed
been
aunt.
bad. He cut everybody off now because of the grandkid.
He
Big
thinks he's
deal.
so cool because
He
he's a
thinks he's
grandpa.
everything now. But this relationship with Kathy, she knows me well enough to say I don't stress when I see you working a lot, because she said I know work brings you joy.
That's right.
Early on in our relationship, she did not feel that way.
Yeah.
She felt working a bunch was I didn't want to hang out with her, or
Right.
I didn't understand boundary or
Right.
whatever. And I'm not saying that those things still can't be talked about, but what I am saying is because of our relationship, because of vulnerabilities, she's able to look at it and say, I don't feel threatened when you open up your laptop
Yeah.
and you're doing a little bit for an hour on a Saturday. It doesn't mean that you don't want to be with me. It's because work also brings you joy.
That's right.
And so I'm comfortable with that. That is so great to have in a partner, right? So there are people who may not have that level of relationship with someone, and so they
That's right.
do sort of feel like I must be doing things wrong. And then that stress sort of chips away at your mental health, at your emotional well-being. It's important to try to build the depth of relationship necessary so you have trusted eyes that at least can help you from a third party view to say, well, I'm not giving you a diagnosis, but if you're asking me, this is what I see. I think you're doing great. I love the work that you do, or I love your house. I think it's beautiful. I know you keep working on it because you think it's never good enough. I think it's beautiful. Like sometimes you just need someone to offer a
That's right.
perspective, right?
That is so true. And also, before we jumped in, I was telling John we did our Clifton strengths. I don't know if anybody's known strength finders from Gallup, and they have different things for organizations. And so it was part of the work that we're doing this week while I'm in Seattle. And it was, you don't realize, like, one of the things that I always am challenged is that I feel like communication is really tough for me, which I know I talk a lot and I use a lot of words. When I try to express myself or what I'm feeling or what I'm doing, and then to find out that I'm in this category all by myself. And it
Yes.
was like, oh, like I
Oh,
always, and that's why I always hate these things. I hate taking personality tests because it always shows I'm always in the 1 or 2 percenters. Like I'm an ENTJ, a Myers Briggs, and they're like, oh, that's rare for women. I'm like, thanks, thanks. I
thank
know.
you.
And I usually hang out with INTJs. They feel the same
That's
way.
when you just say, "Oh, thank you. By the way, you're ugly." And
Right.
that's all.
They
You
tell
just
me
walk
that.
away.
That's what all the personality, they're like, oh, we can't help you. Like mine always comes back lonely. And and so and I don't, and also I'm not a relator, which makes it even worse. Like you're all by yourself and you relate to no one.
And you relate to
Congratulations.
more. But that is not true.
But that
We
is no, no, it's not
no.
true, but it's just not my strongest suit.
You are the
But
best relator on the Golden Girls. I just want to make sure that
I think so, actually.
I think so.
I think actually you're right. I think actually you're right.
Yeah.
But like you don't know how these things manifest and you don't recognize it in yourself. Like when everybody hiring traditionally hire people like themselves and then people try to be more inclusive and don't recognize that the identity of someone who is different you not may not be able to relate to. And
Right.
so sometimes you might feel like you're going crazy, but you're right. Right?
Right.
Like
Right.
you are right. This is not abnormal, but you're led to feel like it's abnormal because everybody else is different. And those are the environments that when you do DEIB work, if you've only done it for a little bit, it's like surface level. You're not digging deeper because the conflict is expected, not
Yep.
relating is expected, being different is expected, but then you have to still coach through how do we work together in our differences so that people don't feel like they're crazy or unable to relate or cannot work together in teams. It's part of the work that you have to do. And so because of that, this is why this is so important because you can feel like that.
And that inclusivity shout out is really important because I think one of the other areas of responsibility that companies have really actually comes back to the manager level. And there are some managers who exasperate these perspectives because they may say certain words that seem okay, but my goodness, the face gives it all away.
Yeah.
So, right, the facial expression, the that shows a little bit of like disgust or disdain or despair or like seriously, all that kind of stuff. And you're like, well, my manager said this, but then she kind of gave me one of those. And you're like, I didn't really feel like the support that was verbalized was actually honest.
Yes.
And so like that, then that becomes a responsibility of the company. That
That's right.
does become the responsibility of the company. I know that we're out of time, but I want to make sure if I can real quick, just to say this, 211 or 988,
Yes.
please, your counties have free resources connected to the dialing those numbers. For those of you, especially who either don't have access to certain kinds of benefits or as robust of a benefit offering, 211 or 988, please call in your that number and you will have access to mental and emotional health support that's offered there.
That's right. And look like we are saying, make sure you have those handy for other people. The 988, especially
Yep.
having those lifelines, they're 24/7 in case of crisis. If something if you see something, make sure that people have access to that in a
Yes.
pinch. In a pinch.
Good job. This was a great discussion.
You know what? I'm really glad we
And
had.
we really have phenomenal people that watch this show live in order to give comments. But those of you who are watching after the fact, please add to these comments because we absolutely have a ton of people that watch after the fact. And you may offer some perspective that will be a help to somebody else who will come along later too. So please do share. You're the
That's right.
best.
And
I
no,
don't
you're
care if you're not good at making friends or people liking you.
thanks.
Thank you.
Maybe I'll get a friend one day. We'll see. I'll
You
try.
got me, girl.
Oh, that's all I need in my whole life. I have you and Pop Pop over there.
Oh yeah, pop up.
Think.